Water is 60% of your body, but the next several minutes will be 100% amazing. Join us as we uncover the health, environmental, and social problems of H2O. Welcome to Operation Water, where we as a group of student scientists are on a mission to teach DC about water. And in this week's episode, we will discuss fracking. Welcome back. I'm your host, Carlo Fiorio, and this week we're joined with Zach Blaifeder, who is going to talk to us about fracking and the current issue in the George Washington Forest. But first, before going into discussion, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became interested in fracking?
I'm a sophomore in the School of Public Affairs and the School of International Service here at American, and I'm also a member of the executive board of EcoScent, which is our environmental club. And last year I was approached to go on an alternative break to northeastern Pennsylvania to speak to people who are affected by fracking and just to look at how just the area in general is affected. And we saw a lot of interesting stuff. People had their water contaminated. People had lung problems because of air pollution. Generally, I think not a good thing for northeastern Pennsylvania.
And would you mind defining for our viewers what is currently happening in the George Washington Forest?
Sure. So a couple years ago, it was brought to the attention of many that there's shale gas deposits in the George Washington State Forest. Right. And in order to get to those shale gas deposits, you need to frack. And it's a major issue because you have the Potomac headwaters in the George Washington State Forest, and that supplies Washington, D.C.'s drinking water. So that can pose a huge issue if chemicals from the fracking wells somehow get into the water supply.
Right, so there's actually a risk of contamination.
Yeah, so what they do when they frack is that they have these kind of barriers, these concrete barriers, but sometimes there can be cracks in these concrete barriers and, you know, the chemicals can get out and they can eventually go into the water.
Do you personally think that the ban will be lifted or that it's not going to go through?
Well, if you look at the facts, I mean, I don't think it's going to go through. I mean, science right now is saying that fracking definitely has some various public health impacts, and even there are some economic studies that say it may not be the best thing because of the amount of money that's put into fracking. The amount of return is not great. And there's been a public comment period in Virginia where over 50,000 people responded, and an overwhelming majority said that they don't think fracking is a good thing in the George Washington State Forest.
Do you personally think that there are any other viable alternatives to retrieving the natural gas other than fracking?
I think the only safer way to do it is actually if gas companies took better safety procedures and stopped cutting corners, because in order to maximize profit, sometimes you need to cut corners and they may not be concerned about water contamination.
Well, hopefully they do the right decision. Thank you so much for joining us, Zach, and for sharing your insights. And as the tide leaves the shore, it's time for us to part. See you all next week on Operation Water.